Alright, welcome back to the Crabby Dice. Today we're going to look at the first expansion to Abyss called Kraken. So this whole expansion deals solely with the new kind of pearl type, which is called Nebulous, but I'm just going to call them black pearls from now on. So what are you going to get in the box? Well, obviously you're going to get a bunch of black pearls in the holder. You are going to get this awesome Kraken miniature. You're going to get new locations, new lords, seeker tokens. You're going to get a loot deck which deal with these new locations, and you're gonna get new allies, and all these allies are Kraken cards. All right, so let's talk about this expansion. First I'll talk about the setup, then the rules, and then I'll come back at the end to give you my thoughts. All right, so let's go. All right, the setup to this one's pretty darn easy. All right, so you're gonna put all your black pearls in their own container next to your regular pearls. Those usually sit in the middle of the table here. You're gonna put your Kraken, your Sentinel tokens, and your loot deck on the side of the board. We're gonna deal with these as the game goes on. And pretty much for the allies, the lords, and the locations, just shuffle these into their respective decks. And you know what? You're pretty much ready to go. Alright, so when talking about the rules to this expansion, I think we're going to focus first on the black pearls because this is sort of the focal point of the whole thing. Alright, so black pearls essentially act like regular pearls throughout the regular game, except for at the end of the game, each of these pearls are going to make you lose a point. So if you end the game with 3, you're going to lose 3 points at the end of the game. Now, there's also other rules with black pearls, is that when you're spending pearls, the only way you can get rid of a black pearl is if you run out of regular pearls first. So let's say your regular supply was 2 regular pearls and 3 black. Well, I would have to figure out a way to get rid of my 2 regular pearls before I can get rid of 1 black pearl. Alright, so for example, if I had to pay 3 extra to get a lord, well, I can pay 2 regular pearls and then a black pearl. There's also another rule that at most in one transaction you can get rid of 1 black pearl. So let's just say I had 2 black pearls in my supply, and the next ally card to buy would cost me 2 pearls. Well, I wouldn't be able to buy because that would make me have to get rid of both black pearls at the same time. Right? You could buy the ally for 1 black pearl because it's only 1, but if it ever came back to me and I had 2 and I had to pay for 2, well, you couldn't do it. Right? On the other hand, though, if you did have 1 white and 2 black, if the ally costed 2, I can get rid of a white and a black pearl. All right, give this to another player, for example. Alright, so that's basically how these black pearls work. A lot of the aspects of the game, whether you're gaining or losing black pearls, could also happen with lords and locations. Alright, so now let's tackle the new ally cards in the game. So these are the Krakens. You're going to see they're all Kraken pictures. And you're going to see that they don't have a color. That's because they're all wild. Alright, so normally when you get an ally from the regular game, they have a color. These ones are wild, which basically means when you're buying a lord, any lord in the game, right, you can pretty much decide what color these are going to represent. Now the downfall of that is that when you use them, you're also going to get black pearls. Right, so by using this card, I'm going to get 2 black pearls from the general supply added to my personal supply. And these guys cannot be affiliated. Right, so if you pay a lord with only wilds, well, then you won't affiliate any card. But if you had a regular colored and a wild, you're going to discard the wild and you're going to automatically affiliate the other card. Alright, so those are the allies. Next, let's look at the new lords. Alright, most of them just act like regular lords. I mean, they just have different powers that might deal with the black pearls. There are 3 special ones though that we need to look at. The Vigil, the Lookout, and the Watcher. These ones deal with their Sentinel tokens. Right, so if you've played other games with reserve systems, that's what these tokens act like. So if you were to recruit, for example, the Lookout, you would get the Lookout token. Right? And at the start of any of your turns, you can put this token on any lord or any council space, and you're pretty much reserving that spot for the future and nobody else can take it. So you can even put it on an empty stack or a stack that's full. So for example, if I put in a council spot right here, well, I'm the only one who's able to take that spot. In the future, if I were to take that spot, I would then return the Sentinel token to my personal supply. I would take the cards, and then on my following turn, I'd be able to set this out back on the board again. Alright, so it's not a one-time use. As soon as you use it, you get to use it again. Also, you're not forced on your next turn to take the spot that you reserved. It's just reserved until you pick it up. All right, the same thing happens with the lords. So if you have a bunch of lords down here, you can actually reserve a lord, and basically you can only buy that lord, and when you do, you return the token, and on your following turn you put it back out. So that's how these sentinel tokens work. All right, let's talk about the Kraken piece now. This guy is pretty simple to use. Basically at the end of the game, whoever has him is going to lose an extra 5 points, and he works like a majority for black pearls. So the first person to get a black pearl in the game is going to take the Kraken miniature. All right, whenever somebody has more black pearls than the current player with the miniature, they're essentially going to take this miniature off the other player. All right, so he's basically tracking who has the most black pearls at that point. All right, and at the end of the game, whoever has this guy is just going to lose an extra 5 points. All right, now it's very important, if everyone on the table ends up losing their black pearls somehow, all right, then the Kraken would just go back to the middle of the table. I like to put him right over here, so that the next person to get a black pearl is just going to pick him up. All right, and the last thing to talk about is the loot system. So a couple of these spots here with the treasure chests introduce a loot system. All right, so it says it grants immediate access to the loot deck. So you're going to see the loot deck is a deck full of treasure chests. All right, and what you get from these loot decks are points or points and other benefits. All right, so the 7s are all points, the 6s are points and an ally card, and so on and so on. The 5s are points and a monster token, and so, or pearls or keys, so on and so on. All right, so how this works, all right, it's pretty interesting. It's another push your luck aspect in the game. All right, so once you go to access the loot deck, what you're gonna do is you're gonna flip over the first card automatically. I didn't shuffle these, so let me just take a random card off the top of the deck. So there you go. So you're gonna see here, this is a 5 and it's a monster token. So if there's a benefit, you're gonna take the token and you're gonna put it below right away. All right, then you have a push your luck system. You have to decide if you want to keep going. All right, so let's say you want to keep going. You're gonna push your luck. You're gonna take another card and you're gonna keep adding it. Oh, look, it's a key. So I'm just gonna keep adding stuff. Now you can keep doing this until you hit a number that you already have. So let's say I want to take another chance because there are more 7s in the deck than everything else, and I have a 5 and a 3. So let me just keep going, and boom, I got a 7. So maybe at this point I'll stop. Right, if you stop, then you gain all the cards and you gain all the benefits. You basically just leave it here. These things you would gain like you would normally throughout the game, and you just continue playing. All right, but if you did get a double, for example, let me find a card here. So let's say I pushed my luck with the 7 here, and I drew another 7. At that point, I sort of busted, and what you're going to do is all the doubles, you're going to end up discarding, but you do keep all the other tokens that you gathered. Alright, just a couple of thoughts here on the expansion. I absolutely love this expansion. Honestly, in my opinion, you know, it feels like this expansion was sort of built in or to the base game, and they stripped it out to make the base game a bit more simpler for families and stuff, but it just seamlessly fits right in. It has some like concepts like wild cards that we pretty much have in every other game, and it just gives you more variety, more flexibility. So these guys are awesome because they're wild. You can use them with every color. They're also great because you can get higher affiliates because these guys don't count as affiliates. So if you use a 5 and a wild, then you affiliate a 5, which is pretty awesome. It's pretty much something that would be almost impossible to do in the base game. So that's great. All right, the Leviathan, you know, it's a nice mini. All it does is track it. It's kind of unnecessary, but you know, it's a cool mini anyway. All right, I do want to take 5 seconds to talk about these Sentinel guys. I absolutely love these guys. These are probably my favorite addition to the game because you end up getting these reserve tokens, and I absolutely love these things. The feeling you have on reserving stuff on the board and hearing everyone sigh or groan when you sort of took the biggest stack in the council or reserved the most powerful guy that sort of everyone was trying to get is awesome, and you just keep doing it over and over again. So as soon as you bought or picked up those council members, then you get to put out this token again on your following turn. So great addition. All right, now the only part on this expansion that I don't play with often, that I really sort of don't like, are the sort of loot locations. I throw in the other locations with the nebulae sort or black pearl things in there, but there's 3 or 4 locations that deal with this loot deck that I don't play with. The reason for that is there's games that have been won and lost based solely on the luck of the draw of these loot cards. Alright? It's because you can sort of just keep going until you bust. But if you flipped over 3 cards already, might as well just keep going and see how far you can get. And I've seen somebody get 20 points with a bunch of benefits. 18 points with a bunch of benefits. Just to give you an idea, a regular location is going to score you, 10 points to 12 points is usually a great score for a location. With those loot locations, I mean, it's a push your luck thing that you can sort of get 18 to 20 points randomly, or you can bust on the second card and get 0 out of it. So the swing is way, way, way out of hand, way too much. I tend to leave these loot cards back in the box. Kind of not worth it. Leave those loot locations. It's only 3 or 4 you got to throw out. Yeah, so great addition. I love it. Just a couple of seconds, talk about game length. It's not gonna add any game time to your game. If anything, might speed it up because there are some wild cards, so you'll actually get lords faster. Also, with a ton of new lords, you pretty much don't play with that rule of refilling the display is gonna end the game. It's always gonna be a race to 7 lords, which is normal. The normal game ended that way 95% of the time anyway, so they pretty much just chucked that rule in the garbage. And there you go. So race to 7, and then you're gonna have one final turn each, and there you go. So overall, great expansion. See you in the next one.